Hi, and welcome to another episode of Diaries of a Life Coach. My name is Larissa Dalton, and I am your host. So today I'm super excited to have a guest. Her name is Kelly Turner, and Kelly is a certified coach and a member of Association of Coaching. Kelly works with individuals to move beyond limitations and access their own wisdom to enhance their lives with self-trust, authenticity, and purpose. Kelly's own journey has taught her the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation for everything else to grow from. So I love that description, Kelly, and I love that you are focusing on authenticity. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell us and tell us what that really is.
Yeah. So authenticity literally has really been birthed with its own meaning, like from my own journey. So, if I kind of put it into context, like I moved different cities. I kind of built up, a good career, and I had a career ladder sort of in front of me. So from the outside world, everything looked rosy, it looked shiny, it looked amazing. But how I felt, I didn't feel that way. And the further I kind of climbed, the more I felt disconnected. When I look back, I was very disconnected from myself and everything outside myself. I was just letting other people go this way, do this, do that job. And I was always chasing. I was never kind of like truly happy with where I was. I was always looking for the next thing, the next thing. My diary would be completely full, always kind of like working Monday to Friday. For the next month, my weekend diary would be full with social events. And I was always busy, always doing, busy. If it was not work, I was constantly doing something with friends or family, or I had booked something in. And when I kind of look back, I was very much people pleasing. I was looking for my worth outside myself. I was trying to kind of validate my worth outside myself. And I was avoiding sitting in my uncomfortability, hence why I was being busy all the time.
Yeah.
And so that kind of took me on a journey where, because I wasn't listening to those little signs that were arising, but I just kept on pushing forward. That eventually I felt I hit like a metaphorical kind of wall. Like I literally felt I hit like a wall, not a real one.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um,
I'm
and
glad it
I
was metaphorical, not a real one.
yeah, I wouldn't want to go into a real one. But it literally, I really felt if I had hit a wall, to be
Yeah,
honest, like a physical wall,
yeah.
I felt completely in bits inside. I felt hugely anxious. And I think anxiety had been a thread that had always been in my life, but I got so used to feeling a certain way, I didn't even recognize that it was there. I got so kind of immune to it. I got used to it, which wasn't healthy for my nervous system. It was not healthy at all. And then my body kind of was screaming at me, and I was in tears, and I felt stuck. I felt I failed. At the time, I was about, I think I was early 30s, 31, 32. And I felt, oh my God, I've wasted my life. I've done everything wrong. I was really hard on myself, and I literally was very limited in my scope of what I seen was possible, because I was living to the script that had been passed down in society, from all different areas of life, saying, this is how we live. You go to university, you get a job, you climb the career ladder, you work towards your pension to retire, you get to this stage, keep climbing. So now I didn't want to climb anymore. And that's when I had to truly listen to myself. And I was very fortunate. My partner, who was my husband at the time, said, you can't go on like this. You need to pause, which wasn't in my that wasn't in my language. I didn't know what a pause was. But when
Yeah.
I did, I kind of walked away. I left London, where I was currently working. And that was the first time that I literally felt my nervous system. And when I mean nervous system, I mean, it felt like, like when two electrical wires are trying to go against each other, and it's like electricity and it can't calm down. I literally felt like that inside. because now was the first time I had slowed down enough that I was like, what is going on inside? And I knew that I needed to do some kind of self connecting. I needed to connect back to myself. I needed to listen to myself. I
Yeah.
needed to slow down to recover from years of not listening to myself and just doing.
Yeah.
And through that own journey, I completely have changed the way I do things, because now the answers no longer come from outside. I've learned
Mhm.
to listen to myself, start to
Yeah.
trust myself, to accept myself, to kind of connect with my values that now shape everything that I do. You know, where I spend most of my time and my energy aligns my values, because my values truly connect with everything that I am and what they mean to me, which constantly expand and they grow just as, you know, I move through life and get to know myself more and do different stuff. But I'm no longer looking for those answers outside myself unless I choose to. And that's for me where authenticity has come in, because we're all different. We're not meant to be living out a script. We're not meant to be limited in a box. And I seriously put myself into a box of all these labels, all these limiting beliefs, and I was chasing something just to kind of prove myself otherwise. So when I kind of come away from that and you step into more, who really am I? What is really important to me? Everything else begins to change, and how you create your reality changes. And that is for me a part of kind of self-love as well, because you're truly listening to everything you need, what you want, what is meaningful to you. And yeah, your everything that's meaningful starts to kind of bloom in your life, and you don't kind of feel like you're kind of crumbling away inside just trying to plod on.
Yeah. So you mentioned like a few interesting things, and I just want to, well, you mentioned a lot of interesting things. I think what you said actually probably resonates with most people. But first thing you said is your identity, basically. It's almost like it came from everything else outside of you, right?
Yeah.
Like, ex- like you said, you know, you're expected to go to school, go to college, go to get a job, and start climbing all these things, you know, external. Um, and the second thing you said was that there was a gap between what that was and how you were feeling on the inside.
Mm.
So your feelings and like, you know, what you were doing, there was a gap between. And sounds to me that through this process of discovery, you started to kind of close that gap and shed things that were no longer you
Yeah.
and start addressing these feelings that you were actually were feeling. Anyways, is that about right? Does that kind of sum it
Yeah,
up for
yeah, yeah,
you?
absolutely. And there's two things I'd like to add. Like
Uh-huh.
with my identity, I had put all my identity into my career.
Mhm.
And beyond that, honestly didn't know who I was beyond that.
Yeah.
Everything I saw myself was just a career. And you know, it's through my that kind of journey where what I now see was purposeful. I had to hit that kind of metaphorical wall for me to guide me back onto a different path. And and now I've come to realize that our identity comes from inside. It doesn't come from outside. And when we create from the inside, our career are not even isn't our identity. It's just that we bring ourselves into that career. We bring ourselves into our relationships. We bring ourselves into parenting, into friendships, communities we are part of. But our identity comes from inside. And that is the kind of journey I've had to kind of go on, and also to become detached from my identity, not go, okay, these are my values, this is who I am, but allowing myself to go, okay, this is who I am today, these are the values that are important to me, but next year those values and my sense of self are just expanding and growing, but it's just my values are growing and expanding and the meaning behind them. So it's almost like becoming detached and allowing myself to grow, allowing myself to grow like a beautiful flower, or a beautiful, kind of oak tree, or whatever you want to
Yeah.
kind of vision. It's allowing change. It's like nature teaches us nothing stays the same. Now
Right.
in the UK, we're coming into autumn, the leaves are beginning to change. But as it
Mm-hmm.
grows back, they can grow back differently. They can look differently by next year. And I think that can teach us a lot about ourselves, just letting go and not being attached. And
Mm-hmm.
with the feelings, yeah, I had to become much more curious and more compassionate with myself. I was very hard on myself. And I was always never thought I wasn't doing enough. I always felt I had to give 200% to everything, but wasn't giving back to myself. I was all about giving, but not
Yeah.
receiving or even giving back to myself. So when I took that pause out, it was probably the first truly time where I started to tune into, okay, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What is this feeling? What is that feeling? What does that feeling need? What do I need to kind of give to myself? And I started to put myself first. So I was coming from much a more recovered, fuller place, so that then I could give from there without giving from an empty place. And that was a big part as well of connecting back with my body, not being in my
Mm-hmm.
head.
Yeah.
And just connecting. We've got so much wisdom in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all the memories of everything in our body. So when we kind of tune into it, we can often tune into, there's fear there. There's anxiety there, or there's joy there, and we can start to truly understand ourselves and accept ourselves, and move from that place rather than ignoring it.
Yeah. So would you say that we embrace like all this external stimuli around us sometimes just to so that we can hide from or be distracted from looking inside and or
Mm.
being left alone with what's inside?
Yeah. And I feel that was very much part of my own journey. I never seen anyone like show how you sit with uncomfortability. How do you deal with those uncomfortable emotions? How do I grow through pain? It was always, and always going towards the pleasure, or avoid, distract, numb, either be out doing, having a glass, or one a glass, two glasses of wine, or wherever, TV, social media apps. We can make ourselves busy so that we're constantly focusing on the outside, but that's okay in
Yeah.
moderation. But if we don't sit in that uncomfortability, I can say for certain, through my own path, there is so much wisdom inside that uncomfortability. But until we kind of sit with it, we don't allow ourselves to see the gift. And it's through every bit of uncomfortability that I've sat with, I've always allowed that to kind of move through me, but also see myself in a different light, and to kind of integrate, like to bring new things in. So an example of that would be, I had, for an example, like nothing coaching related, but I had a fear of the sea, right? I love the sea, but I couldn't go like deep swimming, or I wouldn't kind of let myself go in the waves. I would paddle, but that's about it. And I have no memory. I have no memory why, but my body, when I became in tune with my body, my heart rate was going up. I felt fidgety. I felt panic. I literally felt panic
Mm-hmm.
in my chest. I felt more constricted. But from acknowledging that and going, okay, what's going on here? What is it that I need in this moment? Okay, I need to tell myself I'm safe. I can look at this
Mm-hmm.
from this moment right now. I am completely safe. So the more I kind of tuned into myself and just go, okay, I need to just change my breathing. My breathing's got really shallow. I need to deep breathe here. I need to kind of tell myself I'm safe. So I'm speaking to my body. I'm not kind of avoiding it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, just I started to kind of visualize being in the sea. So I'm already creating those little networks that
Yeah.
we can do, the magic of our bodies and our brains.
Yes.
And now I literally, this summer, I went into the sea. I didn't go like over my head deep, but I went free. I went in the waves and I was swimming in the sea. So that is just to kind of show when we respond to ourselves and avoid ourselves, even when it's uncomfortable, we move
Yeah.
forward doing the things that we really want to do, and we can create much more richness, much more fulfillment when we kind of embrace those moments. Maybe sometimes we just want to avoid because we can sometimes be too scared about what we might find, or not knowing what to do or what could be there. But we can always trust ourselves that we'll always know what to do.
Yeah. I love that example. What's interesting is I'm a nervous flyer, and I've noticed that when I'm on the flight where the captain communicates with people, he's like, "Hey guys, there's a little bit of turbulence over there, but just hang tight. Just only a few minutes, and then we'll resume service. Or in about 20 minutes we're gonna hit some bumps, so be ready," or something like that. When the captain communicates, I feel I'm at so much ease versus if there's no communication and we're just flying, all of a sudden we hit bumps and nobody says anything, you're like, "Hey, are we what's happening?" Like, this is me personally. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I had one flight there that was communicative, and the return flight wasn't, and I was like nearly panicking.
Yeah,
But what I love your example is that you talk to yourself, you talk to your body, almost, you're communicating, you're open communication. I feel like just that eases things up. It
mm,
allows you to kind of release that, and hear yourself. You're giving yourself that respect, and you're acknowledging yourself.
yeah,
I think there's so much power in that.
yeah,
There is for me, for sure. Just observing these flights.
yeah. And I think trust is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And often when we don't trust ourselves is because we're not hearing ourselves. And then we can kind of stress out because we haven't got our own backs. So when we kind of tune in and just listen to ourselves and respond to ourselves, then we can kind of build that trust. And that any kind of relationship, how, if you are with somebody and you're truly listening to them and they feel heard, they feel listened to, all of a sudden they calm down because they feel safe in that space that you've created together. But you can give that to yourself. So when you just listen in to yourself and go, okay, I understand what's happening here. I can do this for myself. I can calm myself down. I can change my breath. I can talk to myself to know that, oh, everything is okay. Everything is safe. I'm fine. Then you will notice what I have found anyway, the more you talk to yourself, every word is like energy, it's like
Hmm.
vibration. So when you kind of speak to yourself, you start to notice something shifting inside, and it's something people can experiment with, when you kind of speak to yourself not nice, sense like how that feels, and then
Yeah.
speak to yourself beautifully how you want to be spoken, and just notice how that feels. And words are very powerful, and how we respond to ourselves is even more powerful too, because self trust is so important to kind of push. Not no, push is the complete wrong road. To flow with courage,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and go
Yes.
with
To grow.
courage, and go
Yeah.
like, because to grow, we gotta embrace courage, and every single person has
Yes.
courage in them. So when you can trust yourself, you can flow much more with courage and embracing fear, compared to when you don't have that trust in place.
Yeah. So, how does one grow self trust? Um, and it's interesting. You said, just sometimes try to listen to yourself. But if you've not been practicing listening to yourself, like, what are some steps that somebody who wants to learn to listen to themselves and to grow self trust through that process? What would you recommend, they start doing that would enable them to do that, to grow their self trust?
Yeah. So I think any kind of trust comes from the quality of the relationship. If you think of a person or a partner that you've had, often that has bloomed from a place of trust. because of the kind of connection you've had with that person. So I would always say, have those dates with yourself. Literally spend time with yourself without the distractions, without the gadgets. And what I would recommend doing is framing the first step of the day. So for example, for me, I got to be flexible, but I always will start my day of, okay, this is the beginning of a new day. I need to kind of listen to myself right now. So I will kind of start that day. I've mixed it up depending throughout my kind of life path. But that could be a little bit of meditation, that could be a little bit of writing, that could be a little bit of music, that could be a little bit of movement, and then setting that intention for the day. What one little promise do I want to give myself today? What is it really important to me? That maybe, what, I just want to make sure I have fun today. I go, okay, what can that look like? I want to be calm today. So what do you need to give yourself to be calm? I want to make sure I move my body today, and locking that in, making sure that you create space, that you give that to yourself. And it only needs to start with that one kind of daily promise. Um, the other thing I would say is the more you kind of slow down,
Yeah.
is that is when we can begin to listen to ourselves. That is when we can get plugged in with emotions that we feel. And that sometimes, depending on where people are, that can take a little bit of time, especially if you found like I'm always in my head. I'm not sure what I'm feeling right now. So just
Hmm.
begin to kind of slow down and tune in to, oh, what is that feeling? And start to be much more curious with it. Because when we're curious, we come away from judgment. And when you're curious, you kind of open yourself up to, okay, what is this trying to tell me? So coming back into that body and kind of listening to emotions. And you can say, oh, there is an emotion. There is an emotion there. What's that emotion trying to communicate with me? What is it that it's needing right now? That is the other thing.
Hmm.
And as the more you become more practicing that slowing down and
Hmm.
those little breaks, and just kind of just become more conscious. That could be anchored to anything. That could be every time you go to a kettle. That could be every meal time. Just taking a few deep breaths where you come more present in the moment, because we can get so caught up in this hamster wheel of doing and habitual thinking and patterns. Just to kind of just little check-ins with yourself.
Hmm.
Okay, how am I feeling right now? What do I need to tweak anything? Do I need to say anything to myself? Do I need to give anything to myself? So then you're always like, you just grow in that connection, that relationship, that you're just checking in, like you would check in with maybe a partner or a friend or a
Hmm.
child, just checking in over WhatsApp if they're
Yeah.
okay. You're just doing the same thing. You're building that relationship with yourself. And then the third thing, the more you do that and the more slowing down, you start to get more connected to your intuition.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's only in the presence that you become more connected to your intuition. Intuition is a moment to moment thing, always trying to guide you for your better self, for your higher self. So it's
Yeah.
always guiding you. But you're not going to do that if you're thinking behind or thinking ahead. So grow in those moments, but then just gradually build you to get familiar what your intuition feels like. Everyone is different how it feels. And that grows a self-trust as well. But I would definitely say, start with, if you're just beginning, start with those mornings, start with those daily promises, do the little check-ins, and just end your day like a bookend, beginning and end your day then with just going, okay, how did I go? What did I learn about myself today? And what can I do differently tomorrow? So you just asking maybe 3 questions, if you want to ask them, if you want to write them, just on a little notepad by your bed maybe, or wherever works for you. Just then to kind of end the day with self-connection. So it becomes a habit. But even if you start with one thing and then work up to everything I said, they can be beautiful steps to get you there.
So this journey, what do you think about your life now? What do you think about what you do now? How do you feel now?
Yeah, I feel I'm always doing the work, as they say. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm always doing the work. I'm always like going, oh, I always think, yeah, I got that right. Like I've nailed that now, and then I go, nah, it's not. Oh goodness, that shadow bit has come back. So it's always like learning, but it's having fun with it. Having fun with it. So yes, it can feel heavy sometimes, but I feel excited because I'm always getting to know myself more and more and more. And I love listening to podcasts and going, okay, what have I taken from that? I love reading books. I love spending time with myself. Actually, if I don't spend time with myself, I feel frazzled. My body's like, I need my space. So now something that I didn't do is now become my priority. I have to have time
Yeah.
to myself. And now obviously I'm coming to coaching and then creating it from my values and creating something that aligns with me, that represents what's meaningful and important to me. And being a mum as well, I believe the more, because I'm not a perfect parent by any means, but as you kind of look back, a lot of different habits and beliefs we inherit.
Yeah.
So when I come, authenticity is a passion and it keeps me accountable, but it allows me to honor my children's authenticity. They're not here to be my medals and to go, oh, isn't she a good parent because her kid's doing this? I'm like, no, they can do it, as long as they're happy and they can figure out, they got to go through their own pain, they got to go through their own mud. But I hope to kind of nurture them so they can grow through it and they come and they listen to themselves and they don't do what other people are always telling them to do, or even me and my husband tells them to do. Is like coming back home to their own truth, what makes them alive, what makes them excited, what interests them, even if it's something that we're not. So I think when you work on yourself and you come back home to your values, you then want it for everyone else. And I think, when I said, my identity is now inside and it's not my coaching hat. It's not always my mum hat or my wife hat or my friend's hat and all the other hats that we can wear. It's that I'm bringing myself into these hats and spaces and help them to do the same for themselves. So, and parenting isn't easy. It always can show you things like, you got to work on that. That's
Yeah.
triggered you. You need to work on that. That's made you a little bit like a bit reactive. What's that showing up for you? Parenting does that. Children can be your greatest teachers if anyone's listening, children or you're around children. But that is how I see it now. I just say I'm always creating from what's meaningful to me, what's purposeful to me, what is the impact that I want to have, what is it that I want to kind of share into the world. And when I come from that place, I can't complain. I can't complain. And just knowing that, be flexible and not be kind of detached, so I can allow that growth to keep blossoming and just trust. The more I listen to myself, whatever obstacles come in the way, they're meant to be there for me to kind of further access my own strength and resilience and growth, and to always know that as long as I listen to myself, then everything will unfold as it's meant to unfold. And I think that's a gift, and that's exciting. It's an adventure. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful and it takes the pressure off.
Yeah. Um, I really, really love what you said about the hats. Instead of putting these different hats on, you just bring yourself into those spaces. And I love that. I'm going to remember that one.
Yeah.
But my final question to you is, um, so I'm a confidence coach. So obviously authenticity is a big part of coaching for me. Um, but I want to hear how you see authenticity as it relates to confidence, and how maybe you've seen it in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my life, like it's really fun. Even when I go back, like back before, I had confidence in certain things I did because I had the competency to do it.
Yes.
But where the confidence lacked is when something was new. And then I was like, I don't feel confident. My self-esteem wasn't there. And then I was giving too much. But when I connect back with the authenticity, who am I? What are my values? What is it that I bring into this place? Then my confidence shines because I'm coming from what I bring. I'm coming from what the values I bring into this space. Because each one of us will always create something beautiful when we allow ourselves to shine into a space, no matter what that space is. So yeah, you may need to grow competencies if it's a job. That will never change what you actually bring into that space. So for me, connecting back with who I really am, the confidence comes from knowing who I am and what I bring into the space, and knowing no matter what, that I will work something out. I can learn different stuff. I can access different resilience. I can find resourcefulness because I've tapped into myself, and I always know somewhere I will find the answers.
That's right.
And that's how it's kind of changed it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful, Kelly. I love that. I think that so often, and so many of us don't see that beauty, that star that we are, that each person is individually, and always trying to just, or not always, but I remember in the corporate world, you're always trying to be as good as that person, and then you want to beat them, and but looking, like I said, looking in the mirror and identifying your own strengths and your own uniqueness, your own gifts, your own so I mean, yeah, you can call them anything you want, but just identifying, our own like beautiful gifts and talents that we bring is our greatest strength. So I really, really loved how you described it. So Kelly, if somebody wants to work with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I got a website called authenticallyrise.com, and I'm very active on Instagram, which is authentically rise. So you can always connect with me there too.
IG. Okay, awesome. So I will include Kelly's information in the podcast notes. But thank you so much for this insightful discussion. I truly enjoyed hearing it from the perspective of authenticity. I loved your story. I definitely resonate with a lot of your story. I love some of these insights. I've taken some notes. I definitely love your hat example. I love when you mentioned nature and how we change and evolve. I was actually just thinking about that recently. I was like, wow, everything in nature changes and evolves, and it was interesting that you brought it because I was just literally thinking about that. And just beautiful steps that you've outlined for us, easy, simple steps, but so lots of gold nuggets, I guess, if I can say that, or gold glitter. I don't know, whatever you prefer, but very insightful conversation. I very much enjoyed it. And Kelly's information will be in the notes. So if you want to work with her, you'll be able to connect with her. So thank you once again for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Have any questions about today's episode? Just head over to my website, larissadalton.com/contact-info and send in your request, or simply email me at larissadalton10@gmail.com. You can find my podcasts wherever podcasts are found. If you would like me to cover a specific topic, also submit that request via website or my email. Connect with me on Instagram at Larissa_Dalton, or book a complimentary session with me at larissadalton.com/coaching. Thank you again for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.